Bangarang, Rufio, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Lost Boys Gaming. Today, we are talking some juicy stuff. Breath of the Wild 2, and the huge leak that may have happened this last week. Alright, before we hop into Breath of the Wild 2 leaks, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, make sure you're kept up to date with everything going on here at Lost Boys Gaming. We've also got a giveaway going on right now. I'll put a link down in the description. Head on over to our Twitter page and see how you can walk away with a Switch Lite bundle. So we got that going on right now. We're super excited to be giving back to everybody, and thanks for all the support. So yeah, make sure you check that out. So let's dive right in. Make sure those tinfoil hats are on secure, because today we're going deep into 4chan. Breath of the Wild 2. Reason for not having the Master Sword is that Link returned to the Korok Forest, which is now floating in the sky. That would be pretty cool. I have to try to figure out where the Korok Forest is. I don't know if how the map will work, I guess, if we'll have to explore the sky, if it'll kind of give us some pretty general directions like the last Breath of the Wild, or if it'll be a little bit more different. I guess it'll be interesting to see how they do with the sky, with all the different floating islands, or if it's and how that works with the whole of overworld of Hyrule. Game difficulty is the same. More traditional dungeons, as well as a replacement for shrines, which are even older ruins located all over the overworld. So that could be interesting. I know a lot of people really wanted to have their classic dungeons back in Breath of the Wild, even with how awesome that game was. That is something that a lot of people missed. Even with all the shrines, that wasn't quite the same as your traditional dungeon. So it'd be interesting to see a game with a little bit of both of that. That sounds interesting to me. Setup is like the first game, just a more dramatic intro. Mostly the same enemies with some evolution. The music is simple but sounds out of tune. So the enemies does sound interesting. I know we saw in the trailer a lot of different enemies that were, I guess they weren't really different, they were the same, but they just, like it says, evolutions. So that makes me wonder if this is, I mean, there's some things in this as we'll continue to go. It makes you wonder if it's really a leak or if it's just people kind of making some educated guesses based off what we saw in the trailer during E3. Music is simple but sounds out of tune. Like I said, that sounds interesting to me, because it would make sense that it's not complete, so they just kind of got some back filler in there for this demo version that this 4chan user claims to have played. Items still have the same durability, but there are some enemies that have time reversal mechanic that ends up with your weapons healing each time you strike them. A plot revolves around the time manipulation and other dimensions. That sounds pretty standard as well to me for a Zelda game. I mean, how many Zelda games are there with time travel, turning back the days in Majora's Mask, going back 7 years, and vice versa in Ocarina of Time. You got time travel and Skyward Sword, so nothing really new there. Another dimension, you've got A Link to the Past, you've got the Dark World, you know, so that's interesting. Nothing too crazy there to me either. A Green Arm is a motif for courage. Arm is the last power from a sage that gives you new mechanics. It's kind of replacing the Sheikah Slate, it sounds like. Zelda plays a role as a character swap mechanic. She's in another dimension, and you have to switch characters for puzzles to influence regular Hyrule overworld and vice versa. Lots of teamwork between Link and Zelda. That'd be interesting to actually play Zelda, and a lot of people were really hoping for something like that in this Breath of the Wild 2. So that'd be interesting to see, and that, to me, that kind of, like I said, goes back to Link of the Past, where you're going between dimensions and things can influence each other, one world versus the other. Zelda has the sleekless Sheikah Slate. No combat for her from what was played, mostly stealth and puzzle solving for Zelda. No gear inventory, just materials and quests. A Link only uses new powers from the sages, while Zelda uses Sheikah Slate features from Breath of the Wild. Lots of Ocarina of Time references, kind of like I mentioned, makes sense with it's around time manipulation. Identity of the Liege Sage should satisfy you. Interesting. I don't know what that means. A surrealist tone. A Kill the Past story about champions taking place as new sages. More traditional Link, Ganon, Zelda plot. That'd be interesting to see if this is like, I mean, Breath of the Wild and supposedly is at the end of the timeline as we know it for either timeline, I guess, if you go however you want to split the timeline up, is the end of for either of those. So it'd be interesting to see, especially if you look at the Ocarina of Time timeline with the sages. These are your new sages. 6 total dungeons, which would bring back those classic dungeons with some of the other shrines, it sounds like. Takes place almost immediately after Breath of the Wild 1. That makes sense. Never saw Ganon, but from what he saw, he can understand that the undead form of Ganon is invincible, and Link and Zelda have to work to restore Ganon's physical prime form to be able to injure him. That could be interesting. So they got to bring Ganon back from the dead to send him back to the realm of the dead. Kill him, basically. Interesting. Bolson dies is now a ghost who gives you hints like Cass. When asked to list 3 things that weren't in trailers, he replies, there's Lanmola that are like the size of 2 horses that burrow between Sky Islands, double sword weapons, and a power that both slows time and speeds up Link. So, we got a lot to digest there. Make sure you keep those tinfoil hats on. I mean, 4chan it's really mostly miss. You do get a few hits every now and then. There has been some credible things that have leaked on 4chan, but to me, a lot of this kind of just feels more like educated guesswork. I know we think we can kind of expect from what we've seen in trailers, some traditional Zelda themes and storyline and plot. To me, this seems very Zelda-y, if that makes sense. It's something that definitely feels like you would see in a Zelda game. Whether or not this is true, that this leak is really a leak or just someone seeking to find a bunch of clout online. Interesting stuff, but I mean, it's always fun to kind of look and to see what we may see. Personally, I hope that we do see some stuff like with the with the Ocarina of Time references. I think that's always fun. I remember in the last Breath of the Wild with the expansion pass, you could find some of the different items and stuff from past Zelda games. Like I had the Majora's Mask, things like that. So I do like references to the past, and then even Zelda makes references in some of the cutscenes to talk about being in Twilight, the Hero of Time, talks about Skyward Sword, kind of gives hints to those. So I think that'd be fun to kind of call back to some of the original games throughout the series. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Does this sound something credible? Does this sound something that you'd be interested in? Would this be disappointing if this is real? Let me know what you guys think. Thanks again, guys. I enjoyed going through this with you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video. Make sure you go check out our Twitter page again to see how you can get a Switch Lite bundle. Till next time, catch you later.